Hello. Pull up a chair and sit tight. Because what you're about to hear isn't comfortable. It isn't safe. And it definitely isn't something they wanted you to understand. They pulled your name like it was routine. Just another file, just another human, just another predictable life they could scan, label, and forget. They expected simplicity. They expected a clean record. They expected a straight line, a predictable story, a file that ends as quietly as it begins. And at first, that's exactly what they saw. Page 1, clean. Page 2, quiet. No noise, no chaos, no obvious threat. They leaned back. They relaxed. They thought. This one? Harmless. But then, they turned to page 3. And that's where everything changed. Because page 3 wasn't written in their language. It didn't follow their rules. It didn't ask for their permission to exist. Page 3 was different. It didn't show crimes. It showed patterns. It didn't show weakness. It showed restraint. It didn't show chaos. It showed something far more dangerous. Control. You see, anyone can be loud, anyone can break, anyone can explode under pressure. But you learned how to sit in silence while the storm built inside you. And that terrifies them because silence is unpredictable. Silence means calculation. Silence means you're not reacting. You're observing. They started asking questions. Why is there nothing here? Why does it feel like something is missing? Why do I feel like this file is watching me? Because what they didn't understand is that your story was never meant to be documented. You weren't built in their system. You weren't trained to follow their patterns. You didn't rise by being noticed. You rose by being ignored. And while they were busy tracking noise, you became something else entirely. Something precise, something patient, something inevitable. Page 3 wasn't a mistake. It was a warning, a quiet signal buried deep enough that only the right eyes would catch it. It said, this individual does not react. This individual does not break. This individual adapts, evolves, and rewrites outcomes. And suddenly, the room felt smaller, because now, it wasn't about what you've done. It was about what you could do. And that's when fear begins. Not the loud kind, not panic. No, the dangerous kind. The kind that sits in the chest, tight, quiet, undeniable. Because they realized something. You're not dangerous because of your past. You're dangerous because of your potential. You didn't leave a trail. You didn't give them evidence. You didn't expose your moves. You learned. You watched. You waited. And while the world was busy performing, you were becoming. Do you understand what that means? It means you're not playing the same game. They needed rules to understand people like them. But you became the exception they can't categorize. And people fear what they can't categorize. They fear what they can't predict. They fear what doesn't need validation. You don't need applause. You don't need recognition. You don't need their system to confirm your existence. Because you've already confirmed it yourself. In silence. In struggle. In moments no one else survived but you. Page 3 wasn't a discovery. It was a realization that they were never ahead of you. They were just late to noticing you. And now they're watching. But here's the truth. By the time they start watching, it's already too late. Because people like you don't rise when they're seen. They rise long before that. In darkness, in isolation, in pressure that would have crushed anyone else. You didn't become strong in comfort. You became dangerous in silence. So let them read your file. Let them analyze every line. Let them stare at page 3 and wonder what they missed. Because the real story, the real power, the real transformation, it was never written down. It lives in the way you move differently now, the way you think differently now, the way you no longer react, but decide. Page 4. Yeah, let's talk about that. Because page 3 shook them. But page 4? Page 4 is where the silence turns into strategy. You see, page 3 told them what you are becoming. But page 4? Page 4 shows what happens when you finally decide to stop observing and start moving. And that's where they panic. Because up until now, you were still learning, still adapting, still sharpening something they couldn't even see. But page 4? Page 4 is motion without warning, no announcement, no signal, no hesitation, just action. Calculated, cold, precise. And here's what terrifies them the most. There's no emotion attached to it. No anger, no revenge, no need to prove anything. Just execution. Because when a person moves out of pain, they make mistakes. When a person moves out of ego, they expose themselves. But when someone moves like you, after silence, after observation, after becoming something unrecognizable even to yourself, they don't move for noise, they move for outcome. That's why they can't track you. That's why their systems fail. Because their systems are built to predict patterns. And you broke your own patterns before they even had a chance to study them. Think about that. You didn't just evolve. You erased the version of you they thought they understood. So now when they look again, they're not analyzing you. They're chasing a ghost, a version of you that no longer exists. And every move you make now, it doesn't match the data. It doesn't match the past. It doesn't match anything they've recorded. And that creates one thing: uncertainty. And uncertainty is power. Because when people don't understand you, they hesitate. When they hesitate, they slow down. And when they slow down, that's when you move past them without ever making a sound. Page 4 isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It arrives, does what it came to do, and disappears before anyone can react. And by the time they realize what just happened, you're already gone. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, strategically. You're operating on a level they can't reach anymore. And that's the shift. That's the moment where you stop being someone they watch and become someone they can't even comprehend. So don't rush this. Don't break your silence too early. Don't reveal your moves just to feel seen. Because the moment you start performing, you lose the advantage. Remember, they only felt safe when they thought they understood you. So let them keep thinking. Let them build theories. Let them write reports. Let them stare at page 4 trying to decode something that was never meant to be decoded. Because while they're busy thinking, you're already becoming something else again. And that's the part no one talks about. The real power isn't just in changing once. It's in never staying the same long enough to be understood. So evolve again, quietly, relentlessly, without permission, because by the time they even touch page 5, you won't just be ahead, you'll be untouchable. Page 5. No. This is where it stops being a story. This is where it becomes a problem, not for you, for them. Because page 5 isn't about movement anymore. It's about presence. A presence they can't locate, but can feel. You ever notice how the room changes without you saying a word? How conversations shift, how energy tightens, how people suddenly become aware of themselves when you walk in. Yeah, that's not confidence. That's not attitude. That's impact. And impact doesn't come from noise. It comes from everything you survived in silence. Page 5 is the result of every moment you didn't break. Every time you chose discipline over emotion. Every time you stayed quiet while the world expected you to react. It built something inside you, something they can't measure, something they can't train, something they definitely can't control. Because now, you don't just move differently, you exist differently. And that's where fear turns into respect. Not the fake kind, not the loud kind, the quiet respect. The kind where people don't challenge you. Not because they know what you'll do, but because they don't. The kind where your name enters a room before you do. And the energy shifts without explanation. The kind where even the ones who doubted you start watching you a little closer, talking a little softer, thinking twice before crossing a line. And you didn't ask for that. You didn't demand it. You didn't chase it. You became it. That's page 5. But here's the part you need to understand. This level, it's dangerous. Not because of what you can do to others, but because of what you can become if you lose control. Because power without awareness destroys. And you didn't come this far to become the very thing you outgrew. So stay sharp. Stay disciplined. Stay in control of that silence that built you. Because the same silence that made you powerful is the same silence that can make you unstoppable or uncontrollable. And the difference is choice. Your choice. Every move now matters more. Every decision echoes louder, even if no one hears it. Because now you're not just building a life. You're shaping an identity that can't be undone. So don't get comfortable here. Don't let the respect make you soft. Don't let the silence turn into isolation. Balance it, master it, own it. Because page 5 is not the end. It's the threshold. And beyond this point, there are no guides, no rules, no systems, just you and what you choose to become next. So ask yourself, now that they can't define you, now that they can't predict you, now that they can't control you, what are you going to do with that? Because whatever your answer is, that's page 6, and trust me, page 6, that's where legends either rise or disappear forever. Page 6. This is where most people disappear, not because they're weak, but because they finally realize something terrifying. There's no one left to chase, no enemy to blame, no system to fight, no audience to impress, just you. And the truth is, that's harder than everything that came before, because page 6 strips everything away. No masks, no noise, no distractions, just a mirror and a question you can't run from anymore. Who are you when there's nothing left to prove? You see, up until now, every version of you was built in reaction to something. Pain built you, silence shaped you, pressure refined you. But now there's no pressure forcing your next move. And that kind of freedom, it scares people. Because without pressure, most people fall apart. They get lost, they drift, they go backwards, searching for chaos just to feel direction again. But you didn't come this far to need pain as a guide. You didn't survive all of that just to become dependent on struggle. Page 6 is about something deeper. It's about choice without pressure, discipline without fear, growth without pain, power without needing to prove it exists. And that's a different level entirely. Because now, if you move, it's because you decided to. Not because you were forced, not because you were pushed, not because you were underestimated, because you chose to evolve again. And that's what separates you from everyone who stopped at page 5. They got addicted to the respect. They got comfortable being the one people watch. They stopped growing because they finally felt seen. But you're starting to understand something they never will. Being seen is not the goal. Becoming is, and becoming never ends. So now the question changes. It's no longer, what are you capable of? It's, what are you willing to build when no one is watching anymore? Because this is where legacy begins. Not in noise, not in recognition, not in applause, but in the quiet decisions no one ever sees. The discipline to keep going when there's no pressure, the focus to keep sharpening when there's no threat, the vision to keep building when there's no guarantee anyone will notice. That's page 6, and it's rare, because most people need chaos to feel alive. But you've learned how to create purpose without it. So don't slow down now. Don't wait for another storm to wake you up. Don't wait for someone to doubt you again just to feel that fire. Become the fire. Steady, controlled, unshaken. Because the most dangerous version of you isn't the one built in pain. It's the one that no longer needs pain to become powerful. Let that sink in. No triggers, no enemies, no pressure, and still, you rise. Still, you evolve. Still, you move forward like something inside you refuses to stay still. That's not normal, that's not common, that's something else entirely. So embrace it, own it. Because page 6 isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. Because by the time anyone realizes what you've become, you're already writing something they'll never catch up to. And that brings us to the final question, not page 7. No, something deeper, something permanent. What happens when you stop being a story and become a force? Because that's not written in pages anymore. That's written in reality. And once you reach that point, there's no going back. Only forward, always forward.